Grim, dour, and fanatically devoted to the Imperium, the soldiers of the Death Korps of Krieg specialize in doing battle in the most horrific of conditions. They are proponents of relentless attritional warfare and possess a willingness to sacrifice millions of lives in the pursuit of victory. Hello there. In this video, we're going to show you how to weather your Death Korps of Krieg artillery quickly and easily using just contrast paints. We'll then talk a bit more on transfers and where to place them. The paint we'll be using are on screen now. You can also find the paint list in the description below. We also have a list of the additional equipment we've used, but you can use whatever brushes you feel most comfortable with. If you're new to painting or want to brush up on your skills, you can check out the Citadel Color Painting Essentials playlist to learn all about our paints and techniques. As you can see, I'm using the artillery piece that Dan built in his video about making custom bases for the Death Korps of Krieg. Go check that video out if you haven't already. Alright, the first thing that I need to do is shade the grey-blue areas. For this, I'll be using Aggaros Dunes. I want my shade to do a couple of things for me. Firstly, I needed to stand out and define the recesses as always. However, I also wanted to act as weathering. From testing, I found that Aggaros Dunes performs really well as dust and wear on armor panels. So, I'm going to do that here. I'll mix contrast medium to a 3:1 ratio with Aggaros Dunes and apply that as an all-over wash. As you can see, I'm brushing downwards towards the bottom of the panels. This will mean that the most amount of the pigment will settle here, giving me a subtle glaze effect towards the bottom, making it look more weathered closer to the mud. Once my first layer is done, I'll let it dry and do another. You can do as many layers as you want here to build up the effect. An added bonus of this effect is that it will stain any transfers that I've already applied onto the model and tie them in with the weathering nicely. Once I'm happy with the stage, I'm then going to use pure Aggaros Dunes and apply that directly into the recesses with a small layer brush for more control. I'll then let it dry completely before carrying on. While waiting for this step to dry, I'll then do another mix of contrast medium in a 3:1 ratio with Aggaros Dunes and apply it over the face masks and boot bindings that are on the crew. I'll then apply it over the lower areas of the greatcoats as well. The yellow-brown tone will make these areas look like they've been stained by chemicals and trench rot. That, I think, suits the Death Korps perfectly. Okay, with that previous step done, I'm now going to use Wyldwood and apply that directly into the deepest recesses and any areas where I want to make the detail pop. Wyldwood is one of my absolute favourite contrast paints that I use on just about all of my own personal models. I'm going to use a small layer brush here for more control as I work around the model applying the paint into the recesses. And there we go, our blue-grey armour panels are now weathered nicely and brought to life a bit more. This will set us up for highlighting later on. Remember, with the Aggaros Dune step, you can do as much or as little as you like, building up the texture to whatever level suits your army. Next up, I'm going to make my metallics look aged and worn. For this, I'll thin out Cygor Brown to a 1:3 ratio with contrast medium and apply it all over the metallic areas. Once the silver details are completely covered, I'll let it dry and then do more layers in various areas, building up the effect. This will break the uniformity of the effect, making it look more natural. Again, just take your time when doing this, allowing the layer to dry completely before coming back to do another. Cygor Brown will do two things for us here. It'll settle into the recesses and add some depth to the metal, acting like a shade, as well as staining the larger flat areas, making them look rusted. As always, take your time, building up the effect slowly. I would recommend applying the paint in sections for increased control and not all over the model all at once. Okay, with that previous step done, I'm now going to use pure Magmadroth Flame and carefully stipple it into some of the recesses and where I built up the rust effect with multiple layers. I'm using a small layer brush here for control, using just the point to gently add the orange rusting in place. Less is definitely more with this step, so take your time and build it gradually. It's always easier to add more than it is to take away if it's too much. Alright, the last step in this stage is to add some grime, and luckily we have the appropriately named Ratling Grime contrast paint just for it. I love the look of streaking grime stains as weathering, so I'll be doing that first. I'll thin out Ratling Grime to a 1:2 ratio with contrast medium and paint it around some of the rivets that we can find on the model. I'll then paint downwards, using the point of the brush to keep in control of the lines. I've thinned this out because once the streak is done, I'll then use pure Ratling Grime and pop that just around the rivet and a little bit of the way down the streak to make it look like our grimy water has thinned out the further away it goes. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And there we go, our rust and grime effect with contrast paints is complete. I'm a massive fan of using Magmadroth Flame and Cygor Brown for rust now. I'll definitely be using these two paints in the future with my own personal projects. Next up, I'm going to show you how to do blast and heat damage on barrels. You can use this for all types of weapons to add a little bit of battlefield flair to them. I'm going to show you the entire process. You don't have to do all of it, but I found that this works really well for me. So the first thing I need to do is use Ironjawz Yellow and thin it to a 1:2 ratio with contrast medium and apply it about 1/3 of the way down the barrel. I'm painting towards the end of the barrel as well, as I want the pigment to be the strongest there. I'll do that for all of the steps going forward as well. Once my first layer is dry, I'll do another just to build up the colour a little bit more. The next step is to thin Magmadroth Flame to a 1:2 ratio with contrast medium. I'm going to start this a little bit within the previous stage, leaving Ironjawz Yellow showing at the start. Again, if you need to build the effect a little bit more, wait for your layer to dry and then do another. I'm now going to use Sigvald Burgundy and thin it with contrast medium to a 1:2 ratio and repeat the previous step, starting a little bit within the Magmadroth Flame step and paint towards the end of the barrel. You should be starting to see a nice gradient of colours happening now. Next up, I'm using Leviathan Purple and thinning it with contrast medium to a 1:1 ratio and applying that within the previous step. I'm reducing how much I'm thinning the contrast paints now because I want the colours to be stronger where the heat and blast residue will be more pronounced. Finally, I'm going to use Black Templar and apply that just around the business end of the barrel to complete the effect. And there we go, heat and blast damage on barrels using just contrast paints. It takes a few paints to build up the effect, but it's definitely worth the end result. This effect will look even better on melter, flamer and energy weapons. Alright, the last thing I'm going to show you is how to make your transfers look tied in with the rest of your weathering. As you can see, I've applied the transfers on the model already. If you want to know more about applying transfers, we have an essentials video all about it. However, I've noticed that the transfers are still looking quite fresh and new. So I'm going to use Black Legion and the tip of a small layer brush to add some scratches here and there into the transfers, breaking them up nicely. Once that is done, I'll then continue to stipple these scratches along the edges of the blue-grey armour panels. When doing battle damage like this, try and keep your scratches small and in proportion with the model. This will help to make them look more realistic. You can do as much or as little of this as you wish. Black Legion works well here for battle damage as it contrasts the base paint nicely and will also act as a separation between the paintwork and where I will then paint the metal that is showing underneath, giving it some depth. We're now going to focus on the transfer placement and what they are. On your Death Korps of Krieg transfer sheet, there are quite a few awesome transfers, so this will help to show you where to officially place them. However, remember that they are your models, so you can also choose to put them wherever you want for your own armies. Starting from the left-hand side, the yellow, black and yellow transfer identifies which company the gun belongs to. Right underneath it is the artillery piece identity number. On the right-hand side, the big red transfer with the number in it indicates which regiment the gun and company is part of. Underneath that is the battery number. Normally, there are 3 guns per battery and 3 batteries per company. The last transfer on the electronics housing shows which gun this is in the battery. So, this is the 3rd gun of the 2nd battery. I hope that helps. And remember, you don't have to have all of these for your own army. And with that last step done on our transfers and their placement explained, our weathering with contrast paints is complete. I've gone ahead and painted the last remaining details, namely some highlighting and the lenses using the red glow effect we showed off in our glowing eyes tutorial that we'll link for you here right now. We've had a lot of fun with this video and we hope you have too. For more painting videos, head over to our YouTube channel. If you need more help, you can always head to one of our Warhammer stores where our friendly staff will be more than happy to help. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this video and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye!